in the next 2 years, it is predicted that we will experience full ET contact and interaction. And the important thing for us really is to not be fearful.
I think it's so important that we really change our narratives around how we approach the unknown, how we approach new information, how we approach even discovering new life, whether it's on the planet or outside of the planet. Welcome to Spirit Inspired Conversations, guys, a space where everyday conversations inspire deeper reflection, higher awareness, and a more conscious way of living. I am Mineral.
And I'm Dr. Linda.
Hey. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. So in today's episode, we're going to be diving deep into the themes around Disclosure Day. That's a new movie that's out. If you guys haven't already seen it, it is very interesting. We're not going to be dropping anything of what happened, but you should definitely check it out. But we wanted to spend some time going over this topic because we think it's very relevant for right now. And it allows us to ask a couple questions that I think are necessary for all of us and as humanity right now about what is out there and how it relates to us. So, Dr. Linda, what do you think? Do you think we're the only ones out here, Dr. Linda? Or what?
Well, first of all, I can't imagine how we could think that we are the only life forms in this vast universe. In our solar system, there are 8 recognized planets, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune that is orbiting our star, which is the sun, which is the center of our solar system. And just for some background, just outside of our solar system, there are more than 5,800 planets that have been discovered, and that's only a tiny fraction that we've been able to observe. And I want to apologize for using the term discover, because we say discover, Columbus discovered America, but wasn't it already here when he came upon it? You know what I'm saying? So in a better way, I think of phrasing it would be that we became aware of the vast number of planets in our solar system. And space exploration scientists estimate there are likely hundreds of billions of planets in our galaxy alone. So oftentimes we throw terms around, but we really don't understand. We have a general idea, but we don't really understand. So I invite everyone listening to Google the term solar system and galaxy, and to get a better understanding of what we're working with here. So it makes sense for us to be open to the reality that other life forms exist and that maybe they've been in contact with us. It's plausible that the government has known for many decades of our extraterrestrial neighbors and that they have been in contact with them. Of course, it's Area 51 in Nevada and probably some other places that we don't even know about. And that's been happening for some time. Oftentimes there's a lot of truth in movies, right? So we just have to take our blinders off and be open when we're watching movies, and sometimes watch them 2 or 3 times in order to get the subtle messages that they're bringing us. Remember the Men in Black movies, Ra? They I love those. They're so interesting
Me
and
too, me
funny,
too.
but they may be living among us and we are clueless. Okay. I swear, some of the people I know are ETs. Okay. Check out the 1984 movie Brother from Another Planet. I encourage everyone to check it out. It stars Joe Morton and it's a precursor to Men in Black. So in 1984, the movies were not as sophisticated as they are now, if you will. But it has some interesting points in it and it's absolutely funny. So in Disclosure Day, without too much spoiler information, the government is outed with their respect to their interaction with and handling of extraterrestrials. It pulls back the veil and allows the mind to be open to not fearing these alien beings. They will be revealing themselves fully to us. us Earthlings at some point soon. There are more and more spaceship sightings reported around the globe. I know we get little glimpses on the news. They really don't focus on it, but I know in Insta and TikTok and Facebook, you might get more uh, posts about these kinds of things. But in the next 2 years, it is predicted that we will experience full ET contact and interaction. And the important thing for us really is to not be fearful. Remember, at the core, we are energy, and so are the ETs. They don't have any more power over us than we give to them, or that the power that we give to anyone else. So yeah.
No, very, very, very profound, very profound. I think going into the movie, I thought it was going to be heavy alien driven and, just a lot of all of that stuff. But I think, building on what you've said, I think a big aspect of this really boils down to a more deeper inquiry about ourselves, and I think the movie definitely spends some time highlighting some points or elements around the fact that this is not a fear-driven type of scenario because I think generally speaking amongst the populace that those who are controlling the information tend to do it in a manner that keeps us in a fearful state, especially if it has to do with the unknown, whether it's the unknown about ourselves or the unknown about space. And because of that, it's a lot of manipulation, unfortunately. And I really don't agree with that. And I think it's so important that we really change our narratives around how we approach the unknown, how we approach new information, how we approach even discovering new life, whether it's on the planet or outside of the planet. And I think generally as the population of the Earth that we have to have a more I don't want to say like a upgraded way of thinking, but we need to elevate our way of thinking about these natural processes within our life and to not be in this bubble as to how we approach life and to recognize that if we are looking at it from a fear-based mentality, that's the lowest are amongst the lowest vibratory, frequencies that we can be operating from. So why, as such elevated beings, we're operating at low frequency? No, we should be excited and ecstatic to, meet new life or explore new life. So I think that's like very, 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 very important. And I
I'm,
think, yeah,
I'm,
go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you up, but I just want to add that we have been programmed from the first ET movies that they're here to attack us, like Independence Day. But even before then, some of the other movies that came up
Mhm.
that came out, I think I can't think of the name of them back in the 70s and 80s, but all of them were like fear-based, like they're coming to get you,
Mhm.
and we have to find a way to kill them off before they take over the earth and all that kind of stuff. So we've been programmed
Yeah.
uh, since the beginning with movies to fear and extraterrestrial invasions, like they're coming and just invading our space and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that we it's so important that we move away from that narrative, and I think this movie helps to at least start us thinking in the direction that, oh, now we don't have to be so fearful. Let's look at it in another way.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. And I think just to make it even more realistic or logical in our thinking, if we look at how extraterrestrials have been classified and the technologies that they have exposure to, etc., I think we can all agree that they have access to more advanced technology. And if it is that they wanted to have attacked us to take over the planet in whatever, crazy way that we've seen in the movies, I think they would have been done that, guys. Like, let's be realistic. So the narrative around the fear and them coming to attack us and kill, I don't believe that for a second that that's the main goal. No, I am not saying that they're not extraterrestrials are entities out there that have, maleficent like are negative intentions towards human. I'm not saying that. That can be a possibility, but I don't think the overarching theme is that they're coming here to like, do anything negative to humanity. I would dare say that a lot of the influence that they've had have been more positive in terms, or neutral in terms of preventing us from creating harm to ourselves. And I think if we're to really explore the data around extraterrestrials and whatever information that we have, I think that's kind of the general theme of us not creating technologies or nuclear weapons and use them in such a way to, cause devastation to the planet and to ourselves. So again, the more you dive into the topic, the more I think you can find a space to kind of move away from the fear base and to become more of have a curious mindset around the topic of aliens or extraterrestrials, and to realize that even us as humans, we might be extraterrestrials here on this planet. It's a very interesting thought, but I encourage you guys to spend time to research that, but also I think other important topics around, you know, quote unquote extraterrestrial. Even if you want to look at the Bible and references to angels and all these different things and to how or even look into the book of Enoch also. This is just food for thought for you. Or look into the planet Nibiru or planet X. There are a lot of different topics that have been, talked about throughout the centuries. Not just this is not a yesterday type of a situation that speak to the fact that humanity has been exposed to entities outside of, our regular realm that have influenced humanity, that has provided technologies to humanity. And I don't want you to look at it from a conspiratorial standpoint, but just from a realistic standpoint as to what potentially could be our reality that we don't have as much information and exposure to because, the powers that be, they're controlling those narratives and they're controlling the information that is there. And like Dr. Linda mentioned, like the Roswell situation or other crashes or circumstances that took place, immediately as these things happen, the equipments, the technology, all the information is taken up. So the regular Joe is not going to know anything because all the information is taken away. So, bear that in mind. And a question I wanted to or I guess talk about is like the implication of a disclosure. Like what's the implication of a disclosure on, even religion or even people's belief system, around the world? Is this something that will have to reshape how we view history, how we view ourselves in history, how we interpret the information that has been presented to us from a historical standpoint? Dr. Linda, do you think that there will be like, we'll have to kind of reinterpret some of the information that we've been given and to really create that somewhat of a deeper inquiry as to our place in history and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. I think first of all, it will cause us to realign our thinking, not our current thinking about our personal safety. I mean, if a lot, I know a lot of fear is going to come up because of the way we've been programmed, and it's like, okay, how do we handle this? Can we be open to communication with these ETs that will be coming in? Because they're going to find ways to communicate with us, and then so how are we going to feel about that? Are we going to be able to handle that? um, we have a tendency to go into attack mode when we fear something instead of like, oh, okay, here's something interesting and new. And they seem to be coming in a positive light. And let's see what this means. But because they're if they're coming, and from my feeling and understandings and readings and research, they are coming, and they are coming really soon, or really revealing themselves to us really soon, because it's part of the new energy that's coming in. Technology is being revved up, and they bring more and more advanced technology. They can really enhance our experience here in this earthly plane if we allow that. People say that we have, or some have said that we have alien DNA, that some have mated with aliens and we're hybrids. Not all of us, but some of us. So what does that mean? And how do you know if you're not a hybrid? Like I said, I know some folks that I think might be, you know. But anyway, anyway. um, but on the real side though, we just need to be open, really, and and operate from a new paradigm. But because oftentimes, whenever we're presented with something new that we don't understand, the first emotion or first reaction is fear. And that's so crazy. Why can't we start with love, or at least acceptance, or at least knowing that we are safe? And that's a whole nother sick episode around learning to feel safe, and understanding what that means, and understanding how to separate ourselves from that whole fear-based loop that we're in, that we've been programmed to be in by everything that we see, what we hear on the news, everywhere. Everything, it seems to evoke fear. And we need to learn how to look at that and understand that that's really not the reality that we need to create for ourselves, and that we can create another reality that is not fear-based. But again, that's another conversation too.
Yeah, 1,000%. Thank you. You added some cool points that I wanted to tackle on. But before I even get into that, I think, even with our channel Spirit Inspired Conversation, I feel like at the end of the day, it's so important that as humans we recognize how powerful we are, and we recognize the power of our thoughts and how we create our, the perceptions that we have through these thoughts that we're carrying, that, unfortunately have been programmed, or kind of like, our minds have kind of been hijacked. And so we sometimes not aware of the fact that we're creating these responses without our own, intentions, but just through what we're watching, listening to, etc. However, in listening to these type of conversations and becoming more self-aware, and more aware of your own position in all of this, you have to take control and to feel and to claim your sense of power, to become empowered, to then choose for yourself, what you want to feel as a conscious spiritual being here, and not just take what you're getting and accept that as gospel and that is it. That's not how it works, guys. And it took a lot of time for me to come out of that mindset of just being a sheep, just taking everything that I'm getting historically, or just, from a professional standpoint. Sometimes you have to go a bit beyond what you're getting. And you have to understand that a lot of what we've been given in textbooks sometimes. I'm not knocking, listen, I'm not knocking. I'm just saying, you have to understand the framework that we're in, that a lot of what we're given, is set in a certain way to create a certain result in terms of our thinking, in terms of how we view ourselves, in terms of, especially from a limited standpoint. So sometimes, that creativity, or that extra curiosity that you have, it's not meant for it to just be shut off. It's okay to kind of go beyond to see, what is what sometimes, but do it in a very conscious way. Do it in a way that, you're not bringing harm to anybody, or you're not bringing harm to yourself, but just with an open heart to learn. But besides that, though, Dr. Linda brought up the whole idea that we potentially might have DNA, alien DNA within us. And I want and I want to bring up another important thought that you guys should bear in mind also. And again, a lot of the things I might bring up, you might have to do a little extra digging on these things. And, that's okay. But for example, there's this idea of, and I don't know if many of you are aware, but in the Bible, I believe in Genesis 6, it mentions the Nephilims, and it mentions the fact that the Watchers, or the sons of God, came down to earth and, reproduced with the women or the daughters of men. and produced the Nephilims, who were the giants, who were these beings that were obviously different because of being offsprings from beings from above with humans. And this is in the Bible, guys. Read Genesis 6 and you can do more again. Do a bit more digging to kind of get more insights around it separately from a biblical reference standpoint. But there's a broader perspective around these themes. And so when you begin to understand how broad this actually is, and it's been in front of us this whole time, you kind of start beginning to wonder, okay, like, is there truly more? And it's okay to feel that way. You don't need to like be scared of that unknown either in terms of the knowledge and information that is out there ready for you to receive. So yeah. I'm saying that to say, guys, they're here, and like Dr. Linda said, they're here and we don't even know. So it's just, really using this whole idea around disclosure, around the disclosure day or the movie itself to really become more self-aware and to really take full accountability around the self-awareness. Because then you realize you are the one creating, you're the one who is you know utilizing your thoughts and your mind in the way that it's to be used, but in this context we are encouraging you to use it from a more conscious framework, from a more self-aware framework, and not just taking or adapting to things that have been tossed on us, are things that we've become indoctrinated with and become so insecure, so fearful around questioning or thinking beyond. Again, remember the framework that we're in, guys. Remember the systems that have been put in place. This is not coming from I love you and I want to see you strive and be the best. No, 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 guys. Let's be real. We all know the system for what it is. So don't be afraid to go beyond that and to follow what is probably deep within you that is beginning to question more. Because as Dr. Linda alluded to, the energies of the times are pushing us into a more spiritually aware space. And of course, being aware of entities and beings around us is a part of that. Not just about us becoming more aware of ourselves, but also aware of our external world, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and following up to Minra, I mean, we are being challenged to go within, to not look for answers on the outside. Go within, sit and meditate on this, and just clear your mind and ask for answers around this. Uh, but because otherwise, you don't want to be in a point where, okay, we're in full contact and you're totally freaking out and don't know what to do. So and they'll probably be able to connect with us more telepathically. It's not like they're going to be particularly, I mean, I have no clue about this, but my feeling is they're not going to be speaking English or Swahili or Spanish, but they'll be communicating with us telepathically, energetically. And we have to be, it's important to be open to that and not be afraid when you have those kind of connections with these ETs, and trust we are going to experience this. And I keep reiterating that because it's true. And we may feel like, oh no, you crazy, you bugging, no, this isn't going to happen, this isn't really reality, but it is. And we're just moving into a new space and time. And again, as Minra has said, one of the most important things is not to be fearful of this, because when we're in fear-based mode, we allow ourselves to be manipulated. We have physical repercussions from fear. The cortisol is off the charts. And it really affects our health, our thinking. So I feel very strongly that we need to prepare ourselves now and be open to that possibility, uh, and reality, really. I say possibility just to couch it in a more comfortable term, but to the reality that we are going to be connecting, we are going to have contact, and it's okay, it's safe, and that we kind of have to, it's important to learn how to deal with fear, not just for this, but for everything. I mean, everything is so fearful. You know, I'm gonna fear about losing my job, or fear about anything. Everything is fearful, it seems like. Is there anything that's happy and flowy and okay when we think about it, especially on watching the news? You know, that's that whole fear-based engine that drives us, which I don't watch the news, frankly. If I get a feed or something on my phone that strikes my attention, like, oh, we're at war, okay, you know. But I mean, it's I mean, I like to be aware of what's happening, but I don't have to do a deep dive into everything and binge watch on CNN and MSNBC and all, you know, and Fox and all that. I don't need to do that, because that's just filling my head with fear. So I'm not going to continue down that lane, but I just I think that the bottom line for me with this episode is, yes, we're going to be connected to and contacted by aliens, but there's nothing to fear about that, you know?
1,000%, 1,000%. And it's not to say that we have not been contacted or people haven't had experience, because there's a lot of people who have had their own personal and legitimate experiences around, even myself. We all have our not the A. I'm not saying I'm one A. I didn't say I'm one of them, but we all have had our experiences. So I'll just give my cyclic reflection for today, and it says, if another intelligence were discovered among the stars, the greatest question would not be who they are, but who we are. Disclosure may reveal new worlds, but awakening reveals ourselves. So again, guys, remember this whole idea around, disclosing new beings or extraterrestrial, it begs the question around who we really are, and really spend time to focus not so much about being concerned about, oh, what is going to happen. Don't focus on the external. Go within. Go within and look deeper within you, and find the higher self within yourself to be able to really get a better understanding around why this is taking place, and why things are happening the way that they are happening, because the answers are already within you. It's not that you need the external sources or the news sources or any of that to tell you any of this stuff. It's already there. So I'll hand it off to Dr. Linda, so she can do her thing.
Yeah, and you know, at the um near the end of the film, and this isn't a big spoiler,
Well,
but they talk about the word listen comes up. And so I want to do our closeout breathing exercise, but we live in a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant stimulation. But if we're tuning into our intuition and our inner self, that does not yell at us normally. It speaks softly. So I think that the message to listen is important. So let's relax ourselves, put feet on the ground or in a cross-legged position, or you can be laying out. So sit comfortably, close your eyes, place one hand over your heart, the other hand on your belly button, and then inhale slowly through the nose for a count of 4, and I'll count it for you. Inhale, a belly breath, expanding the belly. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. and exhale slowly through the mouth for a count of 6. Through the mouth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you exhale, you're pushing the air out like you're pushing all the air out of your stomach. So we're inhaling like we're expanding the belly like a balloon for a count through the nose of 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale slowly through the mouth for a count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and silently say the word listen after the exhale. We'll do one more time. Inhale on the count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and silently say the word listen. So you can repeat that later, 5 to 10 cycles, and it will help to regulate your nervous system and help to encode you to think, to listen first. And what truth and you are inviting to hear as you breathe. So yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Linda, for sharing that. I'm always like, whenever we do the breath work at the end, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could just relax all day. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. We look forward to continue to share and hope you guys had a great listen. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode, guys.
All right. Be
Peace.
sure to subscribe.
Oh yeah, be sure to subscribe, like, and share with somebody else.
Yeah, and comment. We'd love to hear your comments or questions too.
1000%.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.